Thanks to those joining me live and to those that'll be joining me on archive. This is D-Style Boxing 112th edition of the Round Table. I'm being joined by Joe Habib from Ringside Reporter. Also, Dave 408 for the Shoe Shine Boxing Podcast. Subscribe to his channel. Easy Raw Podcast on here as well. How's it going, Easy Raw?
How's it going?
How's it going, brother? And we have Manny and Vivo Marrero from the Long Live Boxing Podcast. That's right. Say it one more time, Manny.
And Vivo.
And Vivo. Okay, he was brought in just because people wanted him to say that. So that's it. You know what I mean? There's no other reason. But we'll be joined by Calix in a little bit, and also MC in the Ring will be joining us as well. Got their confirmation. So let's go ahead and get this one started. I want to start off with a fight that you guys may or may not see. And if you didn't, then it's understandable because no network aired it. But we're like these boxing addicts, and we always find their fix somehow. So I'm interested to see if you guys found your fix with Franco versus Ioka. That's number one. Did you get to watch it? And if you did, how did you see the fight? Easy Boxing, I want to start with you, brother.
Yeah, I saw it, and I actually saw it on Mikey Garcia's Instagram. So that credit to him. He's one of the best cameramen of the year, I think, to end it like that. I did see that fight. I thought it was a very good fight. I thought it was an excellent fight. I thought it was a very competitive fight. And I understand that people think there was a robbery happened, and I did score it for Franco, but I did have two swing rounds that both went to Franco. So I thought I was okay with the draw. I had an 8-4 Franco, but I saw 6-6. I thought that was possible. I didn't think that was out of the realm of possibility. And I know that, we're very critical of the judges and the thing. And the more I look at it and the more I start, actually marking off what swing rounds could possibly be, the more I see that these rounds are kind of hard. These fights are kind of hard to score, and they could be kind of wide ranging in scores. And, 8-4 seems like a drastic, dominant victory. And then it's only 2 rounds away from being a draw. So yeah, I did like that fight. Very good fight. Wish they would have aired it on the US network.
Yeah, definitely, most definitely, absolutely, and it's also a good fight. They could have started a tradition. Every New Year's Eve, Japan has a card, and it's something they could get us accustomed to a little bit, right? Beeb, you have notoriously called yourself a boxing degenerate. Did you get to watch this fight, and how did you score it?
I actually did, and shout out to you. You gave me the link because I couldn't find it.
That's right.
Yeah, so thanks to you, I was able to watch this fight. I had it 8-4. I saw 2 swing rounds as well, but I split them. I gave one to Ioka and I gave one to Franco. I thought rounds 1 and 12 were swing rounds. I thought they were very close. There could have been others in there. Some people may have seen others that I didn't, but yeah, I thought 1 and 2 were very close. I did think, as many had said that watched the fight, I did think that Franco got off to a great start. I did think Ioka made a little bit of a run in rounds 9, 10, and 11, right? But I didn't think it was enough. I had Franco winning 8-4. I thought early on he was getting off first. He was out working Ioka. I thought the big difference, between Franco and Ioka is I just thought that Franco fought at a much faster pace than Ioka. He goes to the body very well. And I always thought that he was a little quicker. And I just thought that, he threw a lot more punches, the volume. And I thought that would be a problem. I picked Franco to win the fight. But, again, boxing is very subjective. I've had some scorecards that many people haven't agreed with me on. So if someone did say this fight was a draw, I don't think it was impossible, but I did have Franco winning this fight 8-4, and hopefully they run it back. But I think Franco definitely surprised a lot of people because a lot of people didn't expect him to be able to do as well overseas as he did, and I think he did a great job.
He did. He surprised me. I think he did phenomenal. And I want to give a shout out to Dave Duenas, who actually gave me the link to the fight. What's in it? Let me give it to you. You know what I mean? So there you go. Right. Shoe Shine Boxing. Did you get to watch it? Were you one of the people on Mikey's Instagram?
You know what? Shout out to Boxing Vitals on Twitter who gave me the link, but I didn't get to watch it in real time. I have to be honest with you guys, man. I found it very difficult to score this properly watching it on my phone on a small format. It looked close to me, and the CompuBox numbers said it was a close fight. And I had to look to resources like Gail, who was watching. Gail, shout out to her, PR San Diego. She said it was a robbery. So I don't know if it was the form watching it on a small format from someone's camera that was a little bit deceptive to me, but I sure would like to see these two run it back. But one thing I'd like to say is 2022 was undoubtedly the year of the Franco brothers, right? Not only Bam, but the older brother Franco. And I'd like to see what's going to happen this year in 2023. Hopefully we can see Franco versus the Nicaraguan. That's what I'd like to see this year.
If anybody knows, are they? I understand they're half brothers from like the dad's side, the mom's side.
They're half brothers.
From mom's side or dad's side?
That I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
I'm assuming it's a mom because they have different last names, right?
Yeah, they probably have different fathers. It's like Mickey Ward and Dick Yecklin. They have different fathers, same mother.
Okay. How's it going, MC?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I was running a little late, but they are actually full brothers. I believe I've heard them over in an interview. They just don't have the same last name. But I do believe that they are full brothers, and I'm gonna verify that. But I think I've heard it in an interview. But
are they like? Is it like? No, he's like my real brother, like that, or is it like?
No.
Like officially,
what happened was
father mother.
There's a story apparently where the father and dad were separated during the time that I believe Joshua was born, or the other way around, where the grandfather, I guess, didn't want him to take the last name of the father, so they just did. And then I don't know if they're ever gonna change it. Back, I think that was one of the questions that they asked him. But yeah, I do believe that they are full brothers. Yeah, somebody in the chat is kind of verifying that. But
yeah, so
pretty cool fact.
This is why we need MC on the panel. I told you.
Thank you.
Man, like that's crazy. Okay, hey, you learn something new every day. I just assumed that maybe that's why
I made an assumption too. What do I know?
Yeah, because like I say, Beep's my brother, but he's not really my brother. You get me? But I still call him my brother. But that's why we have different last names, But MC, did you get to catch the fight? Because it wasn't aired anywhere, but there was people passing around links, including Mikey Garcia. Did you get to watch the Franco Ioka fight?
Well, we do what we got to do, right? So at the end of the day, Mikey came through. I'm glad he did that, right? And I was able to watch it. I mean, I do think it was Franco definitely won. Of course, it was in Japan, right? We know that he was not going to get the edge over there or anything like that, right? So, I don't think it was as wide as maybe people are expecting it, but obviously the scorecards might have shown that, right, in different ways. So I am glad at least one guy did pick him as a winner. So that does show who really won the fight, right? I hope that they do the rematch, and I hope that they do it as a co-main event to his brother Bam Bam here in San Antonio, hopefully in the future. And I think it will be a great event to have. But other than that, I mean, it was kind of close.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Manny en vivo, Marrero.
That league's so famous, bro. I mean, I think everyone did see this fight, and I don't know, somewhere around the line, and I'm like, oh wow, Mikey, there it is. I think it was some local guys from out here there. From Mikey Garcia, something like that. But anyway, there's just something about, and by the way, the style, I think a couple of years ago, I think it was, I think they did. But there's just something about, fighters going over. I just don't think it's the same. And then when I was watching the fight, I didn't really see Franco at it 7-5. I had to watch it and make sure. Yeah.
Really quick, man. You added 7-5 for who?
The way I think, yes, I totally agree with you, Easy. There was a couple of swing rounds that, like, the way as a spectator, as a fan, or as a probably boxing junkie.
Yeah, brother, you're cutting off a lot. Hey, can you hear me, Manny?
Casual fans are gonna actually talk about robberies because we know that close 5 series. It's just the decision probably made the other way. And on top, it's not in your backyards.
Hey, Manny, you're cutting off a lot, brother. Can you hear me?
Let me see the internet here.
Yeah, you're cutting off a lot. Try this. Try to exit and come back in, and we'll let you finish your point because you're cutting off a lot. We're not able to hear everything you're saying. But while we wait for Manny to kind of exit and maybe come back on here, look, I thought it was a close fight. It was competitive, I should say. But I did score an 8-4 for Franco. But that 12th round, I don't know how you guys score. I gave it to Franco, but it could have gone either way. You know, like it was a tough round to score. So if somebody gave the last round to Ioka, I'm not going to argue with them, because Ioka had some big moments. I just think Franco outworked them, and I think there's something to be said about outworking an opponent. People don't put a lot of value in that. It is something that just think, well, if you're not landing at a high percentage, it doesn't count. But if one fighter is doing nothing but waiting on the high-volume fighter to finish teeing off, then the one waiting isn't doing anything either. I got to give some credit to the guy teeing off the most. But nonetheless, it comes down to what you like, what you expect. It's subjective, okay? I like the way Ioka fights personally, but he was outworked in this fight, in my opinion. I hope they run it back. However, man, I don't know. I just don't. I don't see Ioka beating El Gallo Estrada right now. I just don't. I think that's a tough fight for him, and I think that's once and for all. They should do that fight, do that unification. It's been a long time coming. But I don't know who's going to get their opportunity first, to be quite honest with you. With that said, something else happened in the weekend, right? Happened on Monday. It was not in the boxing world, but it was in the sports world, all right? There was a Buffalo Bills player that, frankly, Hamlin, he passed out after a tackle. It was kind of scary, right? And something unprecedented happened, right? Something that's never happened before. They suspended the game. The game was suspended, and I'd never seen that happen before. However, I have seen fighters taken out in stretchers before in boxing. I have seen fighters taken out, and we don't know what's going to happen with them. We don't know the status. We kind of sometimes they even end up dying, right? So I kind of want you guys' perspective on this, all right? And I'll go ahead and I'll start with you, 408. I'll go ahead and start with you with this one.
My answer is a flat out no change. I mean, football's changed dramatically over the years because of.
So just to fit. So you don't think what happened is going to be a precedent for other sports, including boxing?
No, if that sets a precedent, then we should bring back headgear. And, I mean, you have to think of all the changes the NFL has made to alleviate CTE and concussions. And boxing's the complete opposite thing. It's about hitting people in the face. So I see no reason to change anything. That doesn't mean that there aren't things that the numerous boxing commissions, state commissions can do to improve fighter safety, though. In New York, I can remember the Russian fighter, a heavyweight fighter years back, that they did an awful job treating him at in the ring. And there was a long delay between getting him from the dressing room to the hospital, which could have caused him most of that severe brain injury. So there's a lot that can still be done to protect fighter safety, but I don't see a need to change anything. It's still a gladiator sport. I
believe because of that fight, believe it or not, I do believe because of that fight that they have to have an ambulance present at the arena. Like that wasn't a thing back then, which is crazy, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's crazy. Manny in vivo. Are we in vivo?
Sorry about that, guys. Is it better now? At the reboot.
Yes. Really quick, give us your take on Ioka, Franco, and how you scored.
Yeah, I mean, and I was talking about something interesting about international fights, and Franco had been. I think he went to Puerto Rico May of 2018. I think it was, and he was just not the same. And after that, he had a couple of draws. didn't look right, and then going overseas again for me was a big concern. But I think he performed well. I think he did what he had to do under the circumstances, and being away from home, and inside someone else's backyard, especially in Japan. Different timing, different hours, different everything. I mean, you're adapted, you're accustomed to your training, your habits, and everything you do around here with our time zone, and then you go in another area, and it is just a little bit difficult. But at the end of the day, yeah, we want to be able to see that again. I think it was very, very close fight. I still had it 7-5, Franco, and I think that he's probably going to do a whole lot better. And I'm glad that we're, Japan, another country, is actually starting to bring some fights together, although we got to wake up 4 in the morning to watch, who fight or any other guys that are bringing in. But it's just exciting to see another country getting involved and being able to develop superstars, especially now having one, which is Inoue.
Absolutely, absolutely. Joe Habib, I want to go back to the topic we're on. If something like this, similar to this, a fighter gets knocked out, he's out cold, we don't know what the hell's happening. They have to resuscitate him in the ring and CPR. He's taken out on a stretcher. And we're in the days of social media following this. Oh, they got to cancel this event. It's going to be pressure on the promoter. You can't continue this event. You're going to feel what way, and what do you think would happen moving forward?
I don't think much will change because it's such different circumstances. And obviously, my heart goes out to the family of the football player. But at the end of the day, it's just like you're dealing with football. They have a lot of sponsorships. They got the TV deals. These guys get guaranteed contracts. So it's a much, much different thing where these fighters and the promoters, depending upon, how big the show is. And a lot of these shows aren't huge, right? They're not as big as these football contracts, right? Not every promoter can put a show on ESPN or Showtime or DAZN, right? So if you look at the sport as a whole, I don't think it's feasible to just cancel the card because, like I said, it just the money is just not there. The guaranteed money is not there, and also too, boxing has come a long way. The ABC, the Association of Boxing Commissions, they mandate that the promoters have to insure a minimum $5,000 of medical insurance for each fighter, and they have to have life insurance for each fighter too, right? So the fighters are insured medically, and they have life insurance, so that's a positive. And there's an ambulance there, so to just cancel the whole show, I just don't think financially it's feasible. Whereas with football, it is. Right. So that's why I don't think it will change. And obviously, too, boxing is not as centrally regulated as the NFL is as well. So it would be hard to just tell a promoter or tell a specific commission what to do. It's kind of like a play-by-ear type of thing. Each commission operates, under its own jurisdiction, right?
Right.
And promoters are the same. So like I said, it's not as centrally regulated as the NFL.
Joe Calix, how's it going, brother?
What's going on? Good to be here with everybody.
Look, given the, do you think that the Damar Hamlin thing is going to create a precedent in all sports, including boxing, or do you think it's just unique to maybe just football or maybe the major sports or whatnot? And do you think, to just give you like the example I gave B, let's say we're in the middle of an undercard, a fighter gets, seriously injured to where they have to resuscitate him, and we don't even know he's going to be alive. He's taken to the hospital. Social media is on it, like hard or something. Let's say it's a big card or something, undercard of Crawford's Men's. You know what I mean? So people are watching it. What happens? Like, do you think boxing will continue, or does the show go on?
Yes, and before I get into that, there is precedent for what happened the other night with Hamlin. Being a Tulane fan, I watched Devin Walker about 7-8 years ago be resuscitated on the field. And by the way, that game went on, which was wrong. That was the wrong thing to do. The NFL did the right thing the other night in stopping the game.
The players and the coaches did the right thing. I don't know about the NFL.
Yeah, right. Whoever did it, they did. It was absolutely the right move because all energy should go on and focus on this young man, 24 years old, getting back to his family. So that was absolutely the right decision to make. But by the way, I've seen it in basketball. The precedent was actually set in basketball. I'm old enough to remember when Hank Gathers tried to resuscitate him on the basketball court back in 1990. And I remember watching ESPN cut into coverage of another game in 1990 saying Hank Gathers had passed away. So this has happened on the basketball court. It happened in football, unfortunately, the other night. But in boxing, where it's different, and Beeb just touched on many reasons why it's different, but so many of these fighters, and it may come off as heartless, I understand that, but so many of these fighters are so dependent on that card going on. Take Hector Luis Garcia. He's worked his way up to this shot with Tank Davis. Last week, he didn't know if it was still going on, right? With the issues that Tank Davis was having. And he's so reliant on this fight going on for his family, for his benefit. And so many times we focus, and we talked about this with fighter safety, D-Cell, ad nauseum, as so many people focus on fighter safety for the A-side fighter, but they don't do it for the B-side fighter. And we also don't focus on the well-being, both health-wise and financially, for the B-side fighter. So it's very dependent on that card going on for the benefit of some of these B-side fighters who may not get this shot again. But once again, there's complexities, there's nuance here. So I'm open to somebody disagreeing with me on that. But I just think a lot is riding on that card going on.
Yeah, for those who don't remember, the data shift fight, okay, with Matias was actually on the undercard of a Teofimo fight. I don't remember who Teofimo fought, but was it the Comey fight? I don't remember.
I think that was Comey. I think that was a Comey fight.
It might have been. So somebody wants to fact check that, go ahead. But so it's kind of happened before, but I don't think anybody really thought Dadaship was going to die. Like that was like surprising news later on. But hey, easy raw boxing podcast. Talk to us, brother. Do you think it's a president at all?
You know, it's funny because they're really just two different cultures. You know what I mean? And if you really think about it, like in football, right? You have Tua, who, you know, he's had like 4 or 5 concussions this year, and that's been a topic of conversation every time he's been knocked out. It's been a week long. What should the NFL do and all that? And in boxing, someone gets knocked out, we celebrate it, put it on a highlight, and we repost on Twitter nonstop. It's just different culture. It's just a different culture and different vibe to the sport. Also, too, when people get hurt in boxing, like the situation you guys are saying, it happens later on. It doesn't happen right there. Now, we know the person is hurt. They take them out to the hospital, but you don't know the person's going to die. And people all go to the hospital all the time, and then you hear, oh, they're fine. So it's really hard. You know, I don't think they really had a precedent where you knew someone was going to die in the ring right there, and they had to do CPR in that situation. So I don't know if we've been there in that situation. If that happens, maybe possibly you do at the end of the night. If someone dies right in the middle of the ring and it's on the undercard, I think that in poor taste to go on with the fight, especially in today's era. But as far as like someone getting hurt, going to the hospital, I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon. I don't think that. I just think boxing is a completely different culture. Like you said, the Gervonta Tank Davis. If that was another situation, Gervonta Tank Davis wouldn't be fighting this weekend. I mean, that's just the honest truth of it. But it's boxing. People don't look at the same. We look at what's happening in Dana White in the UFC. No one's even going to bat an eye at that. It's just they don't look at these sports the same as they look at the NFL, as they look at the NBA. It's just different. It's just a different, complete vibe to these situations.
Gotcha. Shout out to Tony Boswell, member of the channel. I appreciate your support, brother. Manny Marrero, talk to us, brother. Did you feel the same? Is it just a different culture? We're just going to continue. The show just goes on. Let me up the stakes. Let me up the stakes a little bit. Just for you. Let me up the stakes. Let me up the stakes.
Go for it.
So somebody gets knocked out and they're dead in the ring.
Okay.
Whoa! Dead. Does the show go on? Or I mean, what do you think?
Man, I mean, that's a tough one. That's really a tough one because you're not just looking at from a fan perspective in terms of a sport that you like or anything like that. You've seen a human being that's just happened to die in there. The difference here, what happened, if it happens in boxing, that what almost happened on Monday is that you have a group of guys, you have a team, you have a lot of people around, you have people who play often. They, pretty much they live together for the entire season. So it's a lot different than boxing that you have your own little small crew. You got your trainer, you got assistant, you got your manager, you have your cut man. That's it. And then the family. But we're talking about 2 teams, and these are guys that they know each other. These are guys on the elite level especially Buffalo in the season that's happening on this year. It makes it a little bit different because there's more emotions on the field on something that's never happened. And I think that the emotions the players showed, I was like, this is not bad. And I actually rewinded and I was like, this guy, his body just shut down. This is crazy. And I think that when you are starting to administer CPR, first of all, you got all your harness and everything in there. They had to cut through that. They had to be so fast doing these kind of stuff that I think that's what the player said. Shit, I've never seen this happen in my lifetime. This is crazy. This guy's about to die. If you're administering CPR, AED, somewhere, someone is just, his heart stop beating. But I have to give it up for these EMs and this medical staff and everyone around. And I think that's when it's going to shake everything up, not only for football, but for the entire sports, is how well they have their protocols in place. And this is something that is difficult because you are trained, but when do you happen to get that emergency? And when you do, which you don't know, and they have interviewed so many people and medical staff from NFL teams that they have talked about it like, yeah, I know what to do, but I never experienced that because it never happened in my time, in the clock, when I was on the clock, right? So it's going to shake everything up. But I think right now, man, these guys responded in a way that, the guy has an opportunity in life. And I love the fact that, the response from the doctors today when he actually wrote down and said who won the game is like, you won it, man. You won life. A dead body in the middle of the field. Your friend, not friend, maybe from the Cincinnati that they're not, they don't practice together, but it's still in the same team. That's what drove this thing to stop the game. And it just made sense at that point. When it comes to boxing, a contact sport that we know the possibilities are going to happen, I honestly don't think that they're going to stop the fights. And they should stop the carts. And I know all the nuances behind the scenes, whether it's promoters, money, advertisers, whatever it is, people that have money invested in there, they're going to lose a lot. But at the end of the day, it's a life inside the ring. For me, I think they should stop it, hold it until there's something going on. But if you have a major fight like Crawford and Spence, and people have been waiting years for this, I mean, what would you do? It's a tough one, though.
MC, I saved you for last. For the women's perspective here, what are your thoughts? Like, if something like that were to happen, is there any circumstance that you'd say, okay, stop the event?
I think that unless someone is physically, and we can see it, someone getting CPR the same way that this incident happened, someone dying like that from a knockout or whatever, right? I think they would stop the fight at that point, because it would just be more like a health situation at this point. Also, we learned a lot from COVID. We really learned that the world can stop if that is what needs to happen. So if someone dies on the ring, like Easy Ross said, it would be in poor taste for someone to continue and for us to even sit there and cheer for another knockout. I mean, because at the end of the day, that's what we're looking for when we're watching a fight. Why does everybody want to watch Tank this weekend? Because more likely he might get a knockout, right? So Mike Tyson, people would say he's gonna kill this guy in the ring, and it hasn't happened yet, but we never thought this would happen in football, right? And it did. I'm so glad, like all of y'all mentioned, that they were brave enough, and they also didn't care what everybody was gonna say. They literally stopped the game and said, "We don't care. We're not gonna move forward." You saw Josh Allen's face. You could just tell by the reaction that it was not a good scene. And I'm also glad that they didn't show a lot of this stuff on TV once they knew it was that it was going, like it was taking a wrong turn. A lot of times when other players get injured, they'll keep showing the replay. Nobody wants to see someone have a concussion on the field. I'm sorry, but I personally don't want to see that, because that's not what I'm looking forward to watching when I'm watching a football game. Now, when I'm watching boxing, yeah, I want to see a knockout, right? But that's like we're more mentally prepared that someone could die in the ring. It's kind of like it was a shocking value, right? So it's statistically, we would have never thought that would happen. I do think that no matter how big the event is, they would stop it if someone dies. And maybe the commission is going to step in, where we're not going to care if you as a promoter are going to lose money. We are going to do the right thing here.
Okay, man. I do believe that we're entering different times. If this was a football game 5 years ago, the game continues, in my opinion. Right? So I think it depends on the level of, like the data shift example. Like no one, he went to the hospital, but I think most of us assumed he would be okay. You know, what happened. But I do believe that if there's a death in about, and look, knock on wood, I don't want that to happen. But if a death happens live on TV and they're pronounced dead, like in the ring, I think the fight is canceled. I don't care what card it is. I do believe that that'll happen, and I think it's going to happen in our lifetime at some point. I hope not, but I do believe it's going to happen. But it is what it is, really. I have a poll up so far. 68% say no, 32% are saying yes. Cancel the event. All right. I want to go over some thoughts on fight announcements. Emmanuel Navarrete moving up to 130 pounds to face Liam Wilson of Australia for the vacant WBO title. It's set for February 3rd. That's where the fight is set. He's going to be fighting Wilson. Poor Wilson. Like he floated away because he wanted to start a boxing career. Hanks just didn't understand. You know what I mean? Like he had some business to take care of. Okay, but Easy Raw Boxing Podcast. Talk to us. Do you think? What do you think? Does it intrigue you? Are you disappointed? Do you know something about Liam Wilson that we don't know?
So, of course, the fight was supposed to be Valdez. Valdez got injured, pulls out. Wilson's next on the, chopping block. So I can't really blame them for the matchmaking. It's just the next man in line. You know what I mean? But he's a little more fun than I think people realize. He doesn't have no name power. You're not going to be excited because you most likely most people that are going to watch him have never seen him fight before. But I watched a little bit of him. It has a chance to be an entertaining fight until Navarrete gets him out of there. He's not durable enough for Navarrete, no. But he's got a little pizzazz to him, a little entertainment value to him, and it could turn into a little offensive fight. So I think it could turn into a little better than what we're expecting. It's just not going to have the name power, and probably no one's going to be able to see it, even if it ends up being more entertaining than you think, because no one's going to watch it.
You know what? I thought you were going to say, you guys are going to be surprised. He's going to put up a great fight.
He'll put an entertaining fight. I'll give you that. Entertaining for as long as it lasts.
All right. Okay. Hey, MC in the ring. What do you think? Are you excited for this fight?
This is going to be a Friday night fight, I believe. The next day, the zone fight is going to be happening, of course, right, with all the female fight card. I think it will be an entertaining event overall. The card looks like they are going to put up different prospects. Some people are saying they're loading up the card with, ESPN has a lot of younger guys, right? So that will be good. I'm excited, or I'm looking forward to seeing how Navarrete is now going to be looking at one, right? We've known that he doesn't really like to be in shape, right? I mean, I can't blame him for it. I ate so many tamales over the breaks. Like, man. I'm sure but I did see that Navarrete is taking it serious this time. He said,
Rojo or verde?
There's only one kind. What do you mean? We only eat the Mexican style ones. I don't know if Triple G, Mexican style, right? I'm just kidding.
Are you talking about salsa roja verde?
Yes, he's talking about salsa. I like salsa verde actually better. Tomatillo.
I do too, yeah.
Especially with chilaquiles, that's really the way to go. But here I am talking about food, so I don't even know how I don't know if Navarrete is going to be disciplined enough this time around. We've known that he struggled with weight before, right? Maybe not necessarily that he didn't make weight, but he was not coming in the best possible shape, right? So I hope that now that he has a little bit more room, he's way older now than when he started. So I hope that now maybe he's able to build a little bit more muscle and he's able to show more, a better just conditioning overall. I think he's going to take it serious. And Navarrete, we know that he's always looking for that knockout. So like Easy Ross said, it is going to be an entertaining fight up until the point that he gets caught and Navarrete comes through with his punching power. So.
Okay. Yeah, I want to see the gliding uppercut come back. He hasn't done that in a while. You know what I mean? Like mid-air, glide, boom. Both feet and off the, like, this is crazy. Slight tendencies. There's always bloodlust in sports until you actually get the blood. Sometimes people forget there's human beings in there. I do agree. Boxing is just one of the last like gladiatorial sports that we have that is actually legal out here. So Absolutely. Calix, when Wilson floated away, who thought like he just wanted to go find a boxing gym? You know, that's all it was, really.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought he would have floated to a title shot on Top Rank ESPN at Desert Diamond Arena on February 3rd? But look, as Easy Raw podcast brought up, to be fair, it was supposed to be the Valdez fight, which was a great matchup. We were all excited about that. But next in line, Liam Wilson. He is a fun fighter. He is. I think he's not a top 10 guy. I think he falls somewhere between 15 and 20 in the division, something like that. He's a good domestic fighter. We'll see when he steps up. Will he be able to graduate to that worldwide level and be at least somewhat competitive against Navarrete? But eventually, this is going to be a stoppage. It's going to be some sort of knockout. I'm assuming it's going to be somewhere in the middle rounds. I'm interested to see where over/under falls on this. But this, to me, it keeps things moving, right? Like, you don't want to see fighters sitting on a shelf. One of the biggest issues we have in boxing is inactivity. So you don't want to see a fighter just sit on the shelf because Oscar Valdez falls off. So keep it moving, keep things moving, and let's get Navarrete back in the ring in May if he wins the fight, and then back in the fall, and then back in the winter. Let's
every other
guys will try to get 2 to 3 fights per year, right? 2 to 3 fights per year at least. No more sitting on the shelf. We don't want to see any sitting on the shelf.
Right. Sure. Hey, Dave, I'm gonna get a lot of shit if Wilson wins. So I'm talking all this shit like Wilson. Like,
look at that.
But
shit.
But what do you think? Are you excited about this fight? Are you gonna go? It's not that far.
No, I'm not going to go in. I'm not excited, man. I'm just terribly disappointed there. I've always enjoyed watching Oscar Valdez. Even when I saw him fight against Shakur Stevenson in Las Vegas, I was still excited to be there, even though Shakur was taking him to school. I really thought this was going to be a great matchup. And now I'm like a little bit angry about the fact that I think it's an easy belt, and Top Rank has a habit of, or they're really adept at keeping those titles in-house, and it's basically he's moving up in weight and collecting an easy title. So I'm disappointed about that. But let's address Navarrete at 126, because I think that after I saw him fight Ruben Villa, progressively he kept getting more sluggish, and people were able to hit him much more often. And I think it was only a matter of time before someone snatched that title. A younger fighter, hungrier fighter would have snatched that title at 126. Eventually, I would love to see this matchup come through, the one between Oscar Valdez and Navarrete. I'm looking forward to that and see if Oscar Valdez can regain his title.
Okay. Wilson, I mean, in vivo, like talk to him.
Oh my God, the quirky, the crazy, I call him the Babe Ruth of boxing. You know, does a lot of home runs, eat hot dogs. You know, doesn't train and still great, right? And that's Navarrete. A couple of years ago, man, he was fighting every other week. I mean, literally. You know, a lot of fights in Mexico, and that's what kept him really active. Kept him, who he is. And I honestly kind of disagree with you, Shusha. I don't think right now anyone at the 126 pounds can beat Navarrete. I think the only one that can actually kind of match slightly there will be Robeisy Ramirez. That's about it. Anyone else is just not at his level. Nothing that he wants to make something big and make money in the fights. Now, when Oscar Valdez and Navarrete was announced, I was extremely excited, because after Oscar Valdez lost his fights against Shakur, we said Oscar's coming back, and watch and see how he's going to come back huge with a big main event and another world title. And here it was, right? And I think Navarrete, he's getting prepared for that. He was getting prepared for that, unless he started to slack when he found out that Oscar no longer going to be there. Everyone got disappointed. But what can we say about Liam? I mean, not a whole lot. The only positive then is that these guys, they be matching him with people that they have great records, but there's no big names into it, right? So starting from Joey Noinai, and then, Matias Carlos, and then that's the last fight he did, and he was undefeated 37-0, but who he fought in the previous fights to that. So I think they earned the right to do this, and what a beautiful way to be part of Top Ranks. They got the biggest talent pool in every single division. They can match you and, quickly and keep you active. And I think that's the purpose to that. If you look at what's happening, 120, 130, 135, I mean, even 140, I mean, Top Rank it's really on point with some of their talented individuals to that. But honestly, easy fight, most likely a knockout. Preparation to what we're going to be able to see. Hopefully that could be Oscar Valdez at 130, because, he's probably going to stay there for a while. And like I forgot who was saying mentioning in here, but it's time for him to step up that level. Can he do that? Right before he even thinks about going to 135 pounds? Can he do that at 130 and pretty much wipe everyone out? We're about to see that. And it starts with Oscar.
Absolutely. And Vivo. And let me tell you something. I already know what they're going to be saying in the corner. Or what I'm going to be saying when Navarrete is wailing away. I'm sorry. You know what I mean?
I'm sorry. Take it easy. The guy's got a family.
If Wilson wins, Wilson has every right to be like, fuck that dude D-Style. He was talking a lot of shit. It is what it is.
You better get premiere. You better get like the interview.
It is. He could come out here and roast the shit out of me. Okay, if he wins this fight. All right, but hey, Beeb, what do you think? Is he the secret that we don't know about? Are you excited?
I'm not crazy excited, but I have to be honest here. Wilson I think this is his first time fighting out of Australia. He's a big guy. He's aggressive. He's gonna take Navarrete, but is that gonna matter? Is that gonna help him in this fight? He's outgunned. He's probably at a disadvantage in every area. He's a plus 920. Navarrete is a minus 1800. I mean, that's all you need to know. There's going to be no surprises here. And if there are, then I'll be utterly, utterly shocked. And, again, as everyone said on the panel, it's not Navarrete's fault. And I'm sure that Valdez fight will be there probably down the road, probably next, right, for him. So we don't want to disrespect Wilson. He's got a family, right? So we got to give him that. But it is what it is. This is pretty much, in my opinion, what I like to call an afterthought.
Man, you call him an afterthought?
I have to be honest, with all due respect to him.
That's the worst thing to say about a fight.
At least I'm not
afterthought.
At least I'm not being derogatory like you towards the man.
No, I love Wilson.
You're mocking the
Wilson's a movie star. What are you talking about?
You don't mock the guy like that.
Wilson, like the death, him floating away, one of the greatest scenes in the whole movie. What do you mean? His acting is amazing. But we're gonna bounce around. Be back to you. A fight that I don't want to assume, but I believe you're excited about. Virgil Ortiz, Stanionis, mid-March. It's set somewhere in Texas. Big ass state, by the way, but somewhere in Texas they're gonna fight. Supposedly, hopefully. Are you excited?
Dallas.
Yes, sir.
This is a fight to get excited about. I mean, you have to get excited about this one. Woo! This is going to be a battle. This is a can't miss exciting fight. I think it's going to be somewhat of a phone booth war. But once again, I think Ortiz is probably a little bit shorter with the punches on the inside. I think he's a little bit crisper, a little bit more fluid, better defensively. But Stanionis is a guy that keeps coming forward. He's going to keep throwing punches, but I just think he's going to be a little bit outgunned in this one. And I think Ortiz will wear him down in about eight or 9 rounds. But it'll be a fun fight to watch. Very fun fight to watch.
Absolutely. And, of course, the closer we get to the roundtable, the more we'll talk about it and break it down that week. I can't wait for that weekend. Knock on wood. Hopefully it should happen. But Stanionis and Vivo Marrero Tato, Stanionis, Virgil Ortiz, it's impossible for that fight to be boring. I think that's an amazing fight. But what do you think?
Oh, it's going to be fantastic, and I'm glad to do that. And this is one of those times that I'm glad there's a Reggie. I'm glad there's Reggies, right? Good for Virgil, man. I mean, he's been waiting in a line for quite some time, and 147 pounds is not easy right now, And all these youngsters who they have great potential to be great at the 147, they're parked. They're just charging their cars, right? Parked, waiting for someone else. Boots Ennis doing the same thing. Virgil Ortiz, which I consider Virgil the number one on top of all these new, contenders. They're not prospect. Rocha is also sitting behind there somewhere along the line. I mean, there's a lot of young talent individuals that none of these guys, and I wanted to call none of these guys, Spence and Crawford, they don't want anything to do with them. They just don't, and that's pretty upsetting. Because we've seen Virgil. We've seen Virgil lives right around the corner. Matter of fact, was running last week, and I'm running, and I'm like, that's Virgil over there. I speed up to kind of catch up with him. I was like, hey, are we staying local? He just laughed and left, you know. So I have a feeling we're going to get a fight here in Dallas. Dickies Arena, most likely, hopefully. Maybe the Cowboys too big. But Dickies Arena, probably, that's kind of like his home, basically, when he fights out here. But, you know, it's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. Two of the great guys, Reggie Belt in the middle. This gives another opportunity for, you know, Virgil to continue to, you know, to show, hey, listen, I'm here. They tell me to fight this guy, go fight him, I beat him. I'm here. No, you got to go fight someone else. He goes in and fights him. Hey, he wins. I'm here. What else he's got to do to get a shot at a real belt? It's going to happen now. It's Reggie. But he wants a shot at the best of the best at 147 pounds. And I just don't see that happen. So it's a very frustrating career for him. Yeah, I've talked to him once, and he said, yeah, I mean, I've worked my ass off to get where I am right now. And I just can't get the fights. What else I need to do? And so he's been doing it. He's been very loyal doing it, but not to mention being very involved with the community and very humble. I mean, when he moved around here, he went into the community site and said, hey, guys, I'm a boxer. I just moved in. Say hello. And I'm like, shit, that's Virgil. Fuck. But that's the type of guy that he is. And I think he's going to be great because of the following and the people that really love that humbleness from him. And the way he's fighting and improving over fight. It's just amazing. Stanionis, perfect matchup, man. It's perfect. I mean, I'm not going to say that Stanionis has no chance whatsoever, but it's going to get the run for the money. So,
yeah. First of all, really quick, shout out to the Don and to Sly Tendencies for joining the membership. I appreciate you guys. Much appreciated. Thank you for the support. 408. Talk to us, brother. Shout out to the chat, Major Key, everybody. Talk to us about this fight, brother.
Hey,
Are you excited?
Good for I'm really excited about this. If anybody has not seen Stanionis versus Buteyev, you need to go watch that on YouTube because you're going to get a good look at how deep his talent is. You know, someone who's been to the highest level internationally, an Olympian, and then you have Virgil, who, you know, in my opinion, Virgil and Boots Ennis are the two top contenders in the welterweight division. They just are, and we're actually going to see Boots Ennis this weekend on the undercard against a guy with the last name, I believe, Karen, who's not even remotely close to being ranked. So just the fact that these two, you have on one hand Oscar De La Hoya being able to put together a fight with someone who typically fights on PBC, that's another great thing that we're finally seeing some cross promotion. And I'm excited because we're going to see this week. We're going to eventually see how this plays out and see who of these two, Boots Ennis or Virgil Ortiz, is going to rise to get an opportunity to fight either Errol Spence or Terrence Bud Crawford, two fighters that are beginning to age.
Shout out to Luke in the chat. Team Batman Boxing, how's it going? Calix, when you heard about this fight, what you think?
Real fight between real fighters and fights that we should get more of in the boxing world. You know, they give us excuses as to why we can't get fights like this more often. Oh, it's not time. We need to marinate longer. You know, there's no need to do this guy versus that guy at this time. We need their careers to develop more. And no, it's time. Sink or swim. And don't sleep on Stanionis. Don't sleep on Stanionis. That was a legit top 10 welterweight match. One of the few of 2022. I think it was that one. Spence versus Ugas and Crawford versus Nejan. I think those were the only ones. And Stanionis looked great in that fight. And this is going to be front foot battle. Both of these guys want to take your head off. Both of these guys like to throw a lot of output, but there's sweet science behind what they do as well. It's not just caveman stuff. So whoever wins this fight is going to position themselves nicely, but I don't want us to throw away the loser either, because these are both guys that even if they lose, you don't have to promote them as guys with the O in the right-hand column. These are both guys, if they get 2, 3, 4, 5 losses in their career, they're still entertaining fighters that could still headline cards, right? So the guys who are behaving like fighters, I want us to reward both the winners and the losers from there. So I just love this fight, and the boxing fans are going to be the biggest winners here.
A lot better than Crawford and Avani Nisano. I can never say his name, but I did.
Well, we also didn't get a fight from Crawford either. I mean, from Spence. So
you could say that again. MC, You heard the news. It looks like it's going to be around the Dallas area. I'm assuming. I don't want to assume like I did with the Franco brothers, but I'm assuming that's what it's going to be anyway. What do you think of the fight?
So I'm really looking forward to this. I've never seen Virgil fight live. More likely we will be there. I'm hoping that they put Kid Austin, which is another the zone upcoming star from Texas. So I'm hoping that they put him in that card and we also get to see him. But I think that this is a 50-50 fight because of the fact that Stanionis is such a great boxer. We cannot count him out in any kind of way. And then, of course, Virgil brings in his youth and his punching power. So this is definitely a 50-50 fight. For me, I think that, of course, we got to give both of them props for even doing this. I'm sorry, but they're both badasses for literally putting everything aside, not to mention how many times has Stanionis been paid step-aside money so that the Spence versus Crawford fight could happen many times. And guess what? Still not happening now. So I see my early prediction for this fight, and this is not discrediting Stanionis in any kind of way. I think Virgil is going to be able to get him out of there because of how much punching power he's got. I also think he's improving. If you go and watch some of his fights, he's gotten better and he's improved with the opposition that they've given him. So I think that's a good way to be able to measure him. I think that, guess what? Crawford might end up getting a Texas boy at the end of 2023, but it's not going to be Spence. It's going to be Crawford. I see Oscar De La Hoya doing another cross promotion, or not even a cross promotion, but going out there and offering Crawford money, some type of deal, one fight deal. You go and guess what? You can go and fight the young stallion Mexican fighter Virgil Ortiz. And if you win, you become unified champ. And that's another notch to your legacy. And guess what? You don't even need Earl Spence for that one either. So I just don't see the Spence versus Crawford happening. But I'm glad that these guys are stepping up. Could you guys hear me? I'm glad that they're stepping up and they're taking the fight. And we should give them props for that.
Loud and clear, we hear you. Very good points. Easy, raw. When you heard about this fight, what you think and what type of fight do you think it's going to be?
I think it's a fantastic fight. I think I know you guys are saying you want Virgil Ortiz to get the big names. This is the fight to get him to that level where you start talking about him as a not just a credible threat, but maybe even a guy that could beat the big names. You know what I mean? I think what he's going to do to Stanionis, and I really have respect for Stanionis. He's one of those guys that I kind of missed the boat on. I kind of picked against him against Butia because I just didn't see it with him. But as you see him in the ring, and you see how effective he is, and you see what he's doing, you're like, okay, you got to appreciate this. I missed it, but this guy has skill. He's durable. He puts pressure on you. He's able to break you break your will, and he's a skilled boxer. He has more skill than you think. But I think what Virgil's going to do to him is going to be really game changing. I think that it's going to open up a lot of eyes. And I don't think Virgil's been in the ring with anyone that he respects. I really don't. And I know people think that he's a brawler in there, but I just think he doesn't respect anyone so far that they put in the ring with him, what they have standing back to him. So I think that's been that. But I think in this fight, you're going to see more disciplined, more skilled, and you're going to see his footwork because he's actually very explosive with his footwork. He could turn you very well. I think he's going to turn Stanionis all night. I think he's going to give him a lot of trouble. I'm going to pick Virgil to win this fight. And I think the winner of this is going to be, like I said, put himself in a position. He's going to graduate to that level. Where to talk Crawford, where to talk, if Boots wins. Of course, Boots probably wins this weekend. And Spence, he'll be right there with them. But I love this fight. I think that Golden Boy has about 4 of these fights a year that they could put together. Ryan screwed them on the first one already, so they got this one to save it. But yeah, let's see what they do the rest of the year with it. But yeah, that's a really good fight.
And I tell you what, one thing, D-Style, very important. Okay, if you want to get a whole city together and bring the best of the best, these guys are here in the backyard. Errol Spence, DeSoto, Virgil, and Grand Prairie. Just one town divides those two.
They started in the same gym.
Exactly.
Same trainer.
They love both guys here. They don't care if they go against each other. They just want to see both of them getting into that.
When your idols become your rivals, the story is there, bro. Like they got to do that fight. By the way, Virgil Ortiz 2023 for the super chat. I appreciate. Salute D-Style and panel. Virgil by TKO. Look, it's going to be a tough fight. It's going to be a grind out fight. I think like first 6 rounds, I think they're going to be even 3-3, something like that, or 4-2 either way. But I think Virgil takes over in the second half of that fight, right? I think he takes over, and I think he wins a tough decision. I don't know if he stops Stanionis. Stanionis is a tough dude, so I don't know if he's going to stop him. He can, but I think it's going to be one of those fights where he's going to have to show us his championship medal in 12 rounds, and I think that's where he's going to graduate, showing us that. You can't look over Stanionis. You just can't. I think it's going to be even first half, Virgil, but still competitive second half. That's how I see it. Back to you, Easy Roll. The theater. Madison Square Garden, the Hulu theater, that is. All women's card. Amanda, Cruz will be headlining that card. 2 undisputed women's fights. Mainly a women's card, but there's some men cards there. That's going to be early February. Matchroom doing their thing. What do you think of that card?
I think it shows where women's boxing has come, where, you're actually having 2 really showcase fights for 2 fighters, because they're not really, I don't really think these are going to be the most competitive fights. I think that Amanda Serrano should beat Cruz fairly easily, in my opinion. And then Baumgarner is actually facing, I believe, the number 3 ranked in the thing, because of number 1 and number 2 weren't available. And of course, the champ doesn't want to fight. So I think that these are 2 fights where they should win. They should be big favorites in, but it just shows what women's boxing is, that you have actually kind of star power with the name, some name value there. And I remember 2 years ago, I thought, where could be the growth in boxing? I thought the biggest growth could be women's boxing, but no one had really ever taken it as serious as we have now. And we now have the star power, I think, to really take it to the next level. And especially with the fights we had in 2022, there were some great women fights and great build up to these fights. So I'm going to see the card because I like Amanda Serrano. I like Alicia Baumgarner, and I want to see where they go on from there. And I think they could lead to some big fights in the future. So yeah, I think I like the card.
Well said. Chauncey Pearls, thank you for the super chat. Brother. He says, Virgil Fernando Vargas 2.0 Stanionis will be Virgil's Trinidad. Book it. Oh, okay. That's an interesting take. Man. Okay. MC in the ring. What do you think about this not all, but mostly women's card headlining? That this was not a thing back in the day. Back in the day, they'll put a men's and they'll put the women in undercards. Now the women are headlining. Serrano against Cruz. It is Puerto Rico versus Mexico, by the way, but for what it's worth. But what do you make of that fight card? And Baumgarner will only be in the undercard, but she will be an undisputed fight. What do you make of it?
I think Alicia will become undisputed that night. No doubt. The opponent that she's facing has already been in there with other high-level opponents, and she was not able to execute or perform at the level that Alicia Baumgartner just performed. I don't think it's necessarily going to be an easy fight, but 100%, I would bet the house on it. She's going to win. They also have Sky Nicholson on the undercard. That's another up-and-coming fighter who I think is also going to be able to have a great performance. I think it's already almost close to be like Sela. Of course, Amanda Serrano being from Puerto Rico, she's going to bring in the crowd. They have a few other Puerto Rican fighters. I believe that one of the male fighters is Puerto Rican. So, and it's kind of a smaller venue. So they will be able to sell that out. I think I'm more excited to see what's going to come next. I hope that we get that Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano rematch that we've been wanting. That's possibly one of the most anticipated rematches for 2023. So I hope it happens and we get to see that later on.
All right. Calix, I know just like me, you're just getting to the women's boxing scene, but you've been watching boxing long enough to know that this is not a gamble, or if you want to call it that promoters have done. Matchroom is really investing in women's boxing in the U.S. even, right? And here they are. They're putting on a women's card. And just really quick, people saying that, they're not putting American fight. Like Baumgarner and Serrano are both American, right? So just putting that out there. Serrano's Puerto Rican, but she's American citizen, and Puerto Rico is part of the U.S. Just want to put that out there. But nonetheless, but what do you make of it? What do you make of this card? And step in the right direction? Are you about it? Because they are big favorites, even though they're undisputed fights.
No, and I saw some of that controversy you were talking about from some of the American female fighters, and I think it's much to do about nothing. But this is the long-term goal from Eddie when it started, right? Trust Fund Eddie, Matchroom. You got to give him credit, even for the people who don't like Trust Fund Eddie and Matchroom, is he subsidized women's boxing for a while, and that's the right thing to do, is to subsidize women's sports. And as you subsidize over time, that organic growth starts to happen. They start to climb the cards, and then they start to develop rivalries. You need rivalries to have success in sports. And as they had rivalries, they climbed to the main event. And as these rivalries and main events were successful, you're going to get more rivalries, more main events on women's cards. So this plan has worked. And it's developed, it worked, and we're going to get more of this 2023 following the success, the breakout success in 2022. So it's good. It's always great to see if you have daughters. You want to have them to have success, especially being in America. You don't want to, I've talked about this ad nauseum, D-Style. I don't want to send my daughters to Croatia or Russia or China to go play basketball.
What do you have against Croatia?
I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know anything about Croatia. I'm just saying, like, I don't want to send them.
Beautiful women who live there. You know,
I don't want to send them. I don't want to send them 20 hours away flight to go play professional basketball. I'd rather see them do it here.
You could have said Poland. You could have said Norway.
Yeah. I don't want to see them play ball in Poland or wherever, or Australia. Screw them, right? But no,
Team USA, baby.
This is all good. It's all good.
You can just go tell on the coach, you know, also. Like
if they play soccer, like our women are number one in soccer. It's they haven't played soccer. You know what I mean? I'm just saying.
True.
You know, but 408, what you make of this all women's card? Amanda Serrano will be headlining.
Kudos to the women, man. They're well deserved, but both of them have been in tremendous fights in 2022. The women's fight of the year, Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor. And I honestly think that the Alicia Baumgarner win was a huge win. I did not have her winning, expected her to win that fight, and she did. And she's acting like a champion. And I would love to see her actually be undisputed in her weight division.
All right. I just want to know what's the problem with like why single out Croatia? You know what I mean? Like,
the point he was trying to make is he doesn't want his daughters to be too far away from him.
He don't want it to be far away on somewhere he doesn't really know anything about.
I just don't. I've never been. I don't know anything about it.
You don't want her to come back home and be like, "Hey, Dad, they called me the Croatian sensation every time I made a 3-pointer." You know what I mean? Like. Hey, but Manny and Vivo Marrero, talk to us, brother.
Oh, yeah.
I know you're excited about Amanda Serrano. Talk to us.
Man, this is pretty exciting for 3 reasons. Number one, Amanda Serrano is decorated as she's been. She has never been undisputed. This is going to be her first undisputed match. And on top of that, the very first Puerto Rican women to make this happen. And, you know, one thing after the, Katie Taylor fight, man, that was one of the most exciting, entertaining fights I've ever witnessed in my life, to the point that I am going to Ireland to watch that second fight. I have to. I just have to go. But right after the fight, interesting enough, she had said, I'm going back. I'm going to start grinding back again. And she did that on Monday and never stopped. She had another great fight. I hate to say that she's getting a little bit burned out. She didn't look the way she looked against Katie, but sometimes the opponents made things a little bit difficult, that she didn't perform the way she did perform against Katie Taylor in that previous fight. But, this is the path of certain things that she wants to accomplish in life. And right now she's got 2 things left on her to-do list: become undisputed and that rematch against Katie Taylor. And it's going to happen. And this is the step to that. I do believe that she'll definitely, become undisputed this coming time. Now, nothing away from Erica Cruz. I think I've seen her fight a couple of times. Don't recall a lot in how dangerous can she be against Amanda Serrano. But knowing her, knowing the commitment that she's got to the sport, for her fans, for her people, for her family, doesn't even freaking own a phone. Not in social medias or anything like that. She is so committed to the sport that I think we're going to see a lot more from her. Alicia, wow, the surprise of the, that last fight. She won it all. It surprised me, of course. And she's up for bigger and better things, man. I'm excited for her. I saw her, hanging out at the WBO conference in Puerto Rico, and she was having a blast. This was just right after she had won the titles. But man, bigger and better things for her, and I do believe also as well she will become an undisputed champion. So, 2 female fighters becoming undisputed champion Saturday night. That is fantastic. It's for the ages. So if you're not tuning in, I don't know what you're watching, but I think women is lifting up certain things in the boxing community for, men's got to step up. And this is just the beginning for women boxing. 2022 marked a huge step for that. And now you start seeing a lot of different prospects coming in. Female Cristina Cruz from Florida. He's being trained by the same trainer, Sandra Sayas, Javier Centeno. And on top of that, MC, that is Aaron Aponte, the young kid from also Florida, Puerto Rico, but also from Florida. He will be fighting on the undercard. It's a sensational split draw on the Canelo and Triple G card. I thought I had him see him in there, but I don't know. That brings a lot of excitement. And not to mention Peter Khan, one of the best managers in the game right now. He's loading up a lot with this kid.
Joe Habib, pass it over to you, brother. Well, what do you think of this Hulu card?
It's interesting that Cruz is a plus 200, so the odds are a man is a minus 270, but Cruz is not really a big puncher at all, and I think she'll be outgunned in this fight. The Alicia Baumgartner fight, there's not even odds for that one, so I'm really not excited about this card, to be honest with you. I think there's nothing left to the imagination here. I think we know who's going to win. I think these are pretty much showcase fights for both Serrano and Baumgartner until they go on to the next big step in their careers, to be fair. But hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully these fights are more competitive than I think they're going to be. But it's hard to get excited for fights like this where, these two opponents are going to be severely outgunned. They're going to be severely overmatched. And it's not Baumgartner's fault. I mean, she wanted Choi. Choi got hurt, or Choi didn't want the fight, whatever, however you want to sum that up. So Baumgartner does have to stay busy. But, I'm a little bit frustrated with Amanda Serrano. I understand she wants to get the undisputed. But again, this is just my opinion, and definitely this can be, this could be questioned. This can be argued. This can be questioned. But it's not how many belts you have always. It's who you beat to get those belts. So it's, she's fighting these women, and I just think there's better challenges for Serrano.
But the problem is being that she's been the only one that has to move up from 126 to 135 and move up and go down, trying to search for opponents, because women boxing wasn't the same as it is going right now.
That's what the grades do.
I mean, you can say the same thing for the ways that Canelo became undisputed. Who did he get his belts from?
I would have to argue, MC, that Caleb Plant.
Okay, Caleb Plant
is better than Cruz.
Okay,
I'd have to say that.
Maybe there, but the opposition was.
I'd have to say Caleb Smith was the best super middleweight in the world before Canelo fought him.
And he also said Billy Joe Saunders.
I'd have to respectfully disagree with that.
And I remember when Canelo was at middleweight, and everybody was saying Billy Joe Saunders would be the guy to beat him because he has the style to beat.
Well,
he's bigger, naturally bigger.
A bigger weight class.
I respect what you're saying, Manny, and I'm not dismissing your opinion whatsoever. But the problem is Amanda Serrano's too good for her own good. She got to so we're gonna have expectations for her, just like we have expectations for Canelo. Canelo could sign to fight Godzilla, and guess what? They'll say Godzilla had a splinter in his foot. You know what I mean? They'll make something up.
That's the price, unfortunately, they have to pay, because they're never going to satisfy every
what Beeb was saying, they're getting a pass because they're women.
No, what I'm saying is this is what I'm saying.
I'm just
this is what I'm saying.
You're saying so she should have not cared about becoming undisputed and maybe is gonna get the rematch.
This is what I'm saying, MC. We came from such a high with that Katie Taylor fight, and there should have been an immediate rematch, in my opinion.
It wasn't Amanda.
Why wasn't there?
So why would we target Amanda? It wasn't Amanda. It wasn't his promotions. Why do you think Amanda went another direction and started fighting again? Because she wanted to stay active. It's going to happen. The problem is that now
Katie Taylor would have fought her again. I don't think that would have been a problem making that rematch. They supposedly they made her an offer, and they asked what would it take to get you to fight again. And they made it from what they're saying. It was a substantial offer, and she turned it down. She didn't want it.
Gotcha.
That's what they're saying. I don't know if it's true or not. For me, you don't go from such a high and then go all the way.
So you stay
off that
saying you're staying active, like Crawford does, staying active to fight someone. I'm going to fight someone now. Let me just fight.
You can fight whoever you want. Many. The question is one at a time. Many. The question is, how do I feel about it? Mm-hmm. I can't manufacture feelings that I don't have. I'm not excited for the fight.
Let's let Manny have the last word, and then we're gonna move on. But go ahead, Manny.
No, I respect you on that, and it's fine. It's good. I think it's nothing about when you said about the fight, because I can understand that. I see that these are two fighters that are most likely are going to be undisputed Saturday, and I understand where you're coming from. But when you come out and say that Amanda is on her own little, however you said it, I don't remember. I don't want to paraphrase it, but
I don't understand why she didn't
be able to have any opposition and anyone to fight against with. She's never had anyone. She has to go 3-4 divisions up and down to try to get some fights going. There were no money, no pay. She barely had to pretty much beg for getting a pay until finally Jake Paul came in and let's pay this girls what they deserve. They're bringing the sport the way they are, and I think they're going to. It's going to happen, but until then,
let me finish. I'll let you go.
That's the question. What do you want me to do? Stay inactive?
Go ahead.
Unfortunately for her, she had Lou DiBella as a promoter who didn't have a television deal.
Damn.
So she couldn't get put on like some of the other fighters, like Mekhaled Mayer, like Baumgartner, like Katie Taylor. And I'm gonna have to challenge you on one of your points, Manny. She looked fine at 135. She didn't look like she was out of place fighting at 135.
Not at all.
And I don't think she's won titles. She went up to 140, Manny. So she proved. But she can do it, Manny. It's not like she can't do it. If she wasn't good enough to do it, then no one, it wouldn't even be a question. So what I'm saying
so you think that she's not entitled to say, I've accomplished a lot of
things.
Do
whatever she wants,
I moved out. I'm entitled now to go for the undisputed, whether whoever's got that additional title that I need. I'm going out there, whether it's a cherry picking or not. That's something that I believe she deserves. And now she can go back up to 135 and fight the rematch.
Manny, what I'm saying
all right. We're going to do this. Beep. Give one more take. We'll let Manny go, and then we got to move on. But go ahead.
For her ability, right? She should be with Katie Taylor, Alicia Baumgartner, Mekhaled Mayer in terms of exposure. Mm-hmm. And in order to do that, you're gonna have to go a little bit. You're gonna have to go above and beyond to do that, because you don't have that push like they have. If you're not being pushed by a top rank, you're not being pushed by the zone. Say, I'm gonna give you an example. Demetrius Andrade, right? They ask him, why aren't you getting the big fights, right? And they say, what are you going to do to get the big fights? You know what his response is? Well, what do I have to do? Well, obviously, the plan that you're following right now is not working. So guess what? You're going to have to do something else. You're going to have to do more. Unfortunately, life's not fair. So if you're not getting that, her talent level is up here, and her exposure does not meet her talent level. Huh. She's an exciting fighter. She's a talented fighter, right? She shouldn't be fighting in fights that nobody knows and nobody cares about. That's what I'm saying. She deserves more, Manny. She deserves more.
All right, let's let Manny, go ahead, Manny, respond, and we're going to move on.
And I totally agree. I think right now you're absolutely right. It's just the unfortunately when her career and who promoted her. I think right now she's a different state of mind right now, and she's making the money she wants to, she deserves. And right now she's up to saying, listen, the fight didn't happen. The rematch, guess what? I'm going to stay active. I'm going to conquer undisputed status. Check that out of my list, and I'll be back. And I think that's what's going to happen most likely. And she's okay with it. She's entitled to at least go out there and say, let me become undisputed to whomever is out there. And then I'll come back 135, which I agree with you. She looks a lot better 135 than 126.
All right. MC in the ring. We're going to go ahead and proceed to the next topic here. I just want to ask you guys really quick. MC Boots Ennis, he's going to be fighting Karen. Now Karen will probably be complaining during and after the fight, but like, is Boots gonna like get a shot this year? You think? Like, do you think this is his year? Like, what do you think, MC? Whether it's Spence, Crawford, maybe a fight with somebody.
I think that Boots gets Spence this year. I think that later in the year, that's the fight that's going to happen within PBC. I don't think that they're interested in doing cross-promotional fights as far as their main stars go. They're not going to do cross-promotionals with Earl, maybe not even Tank, right? That's one of the questions that we've had. So I think Earl is going to have to go out there and face the young guy just the way Bud is going to have to go out there and face Virgil. If not, he's going to have to drop his belts and go up to 154, who his stablemate is up there at 154. So I'm not really sure they're ready to do that, right? I think Boots is pound per pound talent, maybe not today, but in the next 2 to 3 years, he's going to be someone that we are going to be tuning in to watch. Everybody. So, and he's also very fan friendly. I think that he does great in interviews. He's not afraid to go out there and speak. His press conference today was actually great. It was very, very entertaining. I was glad to see all of them kind of going back and forth. There's already other fights that they have for him there in Showtime. Like maybe he can fight Rashid Ellis after this fight, and then later in the year he can get Spence. If Spence has another fight after he comes back in April, because he had another car accident.
Okay, all right. Manny in Vivo Marrero, talk to us. Is this the year that Boots gets his shot?
Nope. I don't see it happen. I think he's gonna have to keep parking his Tesla and keep charging it and waiting there until charges fully, because he ain't getting the fight this year. It's just, Spence, when you think about it, he's looking at some other things, and definitely 154 is not an option right now. I think I'm going to probably see Spence and keep Thurman before I see Boots Ennis, in the mix. That's just a reality. And then, Spence is going to be very difficult for him to give him a shot against Virgil. I may see Virgil might having a better opportunity against Spence because of the fact that, De La Hoya and PBC, that's something that we can definitely see in the future. Is it the best interest for Spence? Not really. And, I had just having a conversation with my neighbor today, and we're talking about who is my best fighter currently right now. And, I gave him my
Your
perspective.
neighbor
right?
talks boxing with you? Man.
And then, talking boxing. And he said, mine is Crawford. And I looked at him, like, good, I get it. And I asked him why. And he had first thing he said was that he feels like right now Spence and Crawford, that fight needs to happen, but if not, they need legacy fights, and these guys are not going to look into the younger talented guys that are coming up here. Crawford can easily make a move to 154 and challenge any of the guys because he's doesn't have any emotion attached to that. Spence can't do that, so I'd see more Spence trying to still fight someone down at a 147. Maybe he'll get a tune-up with someone. Maybe he'll get that Keith Thurman. But Boots Ennis, right now, they're seeing him way too dangerous for him to really cut down, the path that Spence has over the future. Keep in mind, if Boots beats Spence, even though if there's a rematch, that's it. Career over. And he just had another accident. He's got more lives than it's just crazy, but he's exciting to see. We want to be able to see him, but we want to be able to see him like for yesterday. Make a fight.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Easy Raw podcast. Talk to us, brother.
No, we're not going to see that fight. We're going to see Boots is going to fight Karen this week, and then he's going to fight Rashidi Alice next, and that'll probably be his year this year.
That's it.
I think so, but I think that Crawford's probably going to fight Thurman next, and then hopefully they make Crawford. Spence is going to fight Thurman, and then hopefully he fights Crawford. And if he doesn't, he will go to 154. And I don't think Charlo's out of the question for them to match up. So I know a lot of people don't think that will happen. He has never said that he would never fight him. And if anything, when people ask him, he kind of says, "I'll fight anybody." He specifically says that, and he's not a man that just talks crazy. He really isn't. He's really a guy that says, hey, I'll fight this guy. He really means he'll fight this guy. I really believe that. So I think he'll fight Charlo. I don't think that's crazy. I think he'll fight Fundora. I think that's an excellent matchup. I think Castano, who's been talking a little crazy lately, I think he'll fight him. So those, I think he has plenty of fights, and I think that really the only thing he wants at 147 is Crawford. That makes sense. Boots, like we were talking about Virgil earlier, hasn't really had that fight to graduate to that point. Now, we all have speculation. The eye test, it's a crazy thing, and we all think this guy might be able to beat all the best guys, but he has not graduated to that level yet. We got to let him graduate to that level. Fight. If Rashidi Ellis looks good this weekend, he looks as sharp as he looks when he's hitting the pads, as sharp as he looks when he's hitting the bag. He looks fast. He looks. That could be a great matchup. That could be a really interesting matchup. But I don't believe that Boots will fight Spence or Crawford. I think you might see him at 154 because he's going to be going there soon as well. He's big as well. So that's a fight down the road, but that's not happening this year.
Okay, all right. Beeb, talk to his brother. Is this the year that he gets a shot? Boots.
No, and I agree with Easy Raw, and I agree with MC on one point that they made. I think there's a reason why Boots and Ellis are on the same card, because I think that fight's going to be next. I think that Spence will move up to 154. I think Jermel's going to move up to 160, and I think Jamal is going to move up to 168. I think Jamal is going to fight Demetrius Andrade at some point. I think that's what they're trying to make, and I kind of think Spence will probably go after Fondora. They may fight for some title up there eventually, for a vacant title or something like that, and that's what I see happening. I just don't think that Spence is going to fight Boots Ennis. I just don't think that's going to happen. And Boots will probably have to fight for a vacant title at some point, maybe towards the end of next year, towards the beginning of next year, excuse me, and toward maybe the end of this year. So I think if Boots fights 3 times this year, he could possibly pick up a vacant title. And I do think that Spence will probably move up. I don't think he's going to stay at 147, to be honest with you. So I don't think he's going to have to worry about fighting Jermel. I think Jermel's going to move up to 160.
All right, 408. This is some good beer. I'm sick and I'm drinking, but it's my it's my Friday, so it is what it is. 408, talk to us.
Hell no, he's not getting his shot. What? He's falling into that role, kind of like Boo Boo Andrade, and I'm not making any fighting comparison, but he's a high risk, low reward guy. And that's why I was praising Virgil Ortiz and his team with Oscar De La Hoya getting such a bigger name. These are the type of fighters that Boots should have been petitioning to fight, the Stanionis. And somehow Virgil Ortiz is successful in getting that fight. I don't see Virgil Ortiz getting a title fight. I'm sorry. I do not see Boots Ennis getting a title opportunity in 2022 for the foreseeable future. No.
All right. Calix, is this the year of Boots Ennis that he gets a shot?
No.
Why not?
And look.
Okay.
Oops.
Even the trolls that come on, really?
Right. But Boots is in a it's not only that he's high risk, low reward, he's in a business spot that's a bit weird. People assume he's with PBC. He's not. He's a Showtime fighter. He's not with PBC. So he fights on PBC cards, but since he's not Al Heyman's not going to be ready to serve him up to his bigger name fighters. He's just not. So he's in one of those positions. He's not a PBC fighter. He's a Showtime fighter. And being that he's strictly with Showtime, he's not going to get the dates that he needs to get because he needs to do one of two things. He needs to go the Gennady Golovkin route and stay active, fight quarterly on like when Golovkin was fighting, he was fighting quarterly on HBO main events. The issue is Boots Ennis isn't going to get quarterly dates with Showtime. He needs to stay active, knock out the best fighters available to him, build an organic fan base, but he's not going to have the Showtime dates to be able to do that because Showtime's not even putting on regular cards anymore. Everything's a pay-per-view. So you're burying this guy on undercards of pay-per-views to where he can't build an organic fan base. And he's not active enough to back guys into corners. So realistically, what we're looking at this year is the fight next is going to be the fight that really should have been happening Saturday anyway. It's him against Speedy Rashidi. And that's going to be his year. Followed up from a year last year where he fought once, where he should be fighting quarterly. You're burying a hidden gem to a once to twice per year fighter against average opposition. That's what we're looking at. So it's going to come a point where the sanctioning bodies have to step in for Boots Ennis, or he's got to do one of two things: stay active, which they're not going to do because he's not going to have the Showtime dates, or he's going to have to give up some of his strengths as that's and take the Paul Williams route. Move up to 154, move up to 160, give up some of his strengths in order to get bigger name opponents in the ring with him. But the problem we have now is that we're in a different era of boxing where the middleweights don't even want to fight. I mean, the sexy divisions are no longer sexy. So I don't know what Boots can do. The sanctioning body's eventually going to have to step in for him, but it's not going to be this year.
This is not the year of Virgil Ortiz. I'm sorry. It is the year of Virgil Ortiz, actually. I'm actually thinking that if Virgil beats Stanionis, maybe, later this year, Boots Virgil fight. But I don't know. I do agree with the take that Spence will be moving up, right? And Jamal moves up. Jamal moves. You could kind of predict the PBC landscape a little bit there. So it is what it is. Let's go ahead and proceed here. The fight of the weekend, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to start with you for a wait. Tank Davis against Garcia.
Hey,
not Ryan Garcia, obviously. Okay, but the Garcia that just beat Colbert, he was a big underdog in that fight. He's a big underdog in this fight. Are people overlooking him, and is Tank in a fight this weekend, or do you think Tank washes him against Luis Garcia? What do you think?
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, ironically, you say that. I typed in Tank versus Garcia, and rather than that coming up first, you get a bunch of pictures of Ryan Garcia. So, yeah, he's a very dangerous opponent. And Tank Davis should have absolutely throughout his training camp not be overlooking this guy. This guy is, if there's anybody ripe for an upset, it's this guy because he's already proven it. He proved it in Las Vegas when Chris Colbert was supposed to be fighting an unknown Dominican fighter and walking away with an easy title, just the same way Navarrete is fighting this unknown Australian guy. He's already proved it that Garcia can do it. But ultimately, I don't think there's many guys at 130 pounds, if anybody, that can withstand Tank's assault, as offensive assault. Yes, he doesn't throw that many punches, but when he does, they're devastating punches. And I don't think he's going to get past Tank. He's not going to be able to take the power. That's how it's going to end a knockout, much like the other fights. Incidentally, I had the pleasure of running into Raleigh Romero just a couple weeks ago at the Cosmopolitan, where that Dominican fighter won his title. And it was the easiest thing to stir up a conversation with Raleigh Romero. All I had to do was tell him that, you had that fight, man. You were beating Tank Davis. That's all you got to do to get the guy to talk forever. And with that being said, thanks a lot, guys, for inviting me on this great panel. Always a pleasure to be on here with this wonderful cast of content creators. You can check out my show, The Shoe Shine, on Monday nights on YouTube. Check it out, and Happy New Year, everybody. Take
Absolutely,
care.
brother. Take care. All right. MC in the ring. Are we overlooking Luis Garcia in this fight? Does he have a shot, or is this going to be another routine knockout for Tank?
Well, first of all, this is boxing. Anybody has a chance. So I think that I'm not taking Hector Garcia lightly. He's got a great amateur career. He's also an Olympian. So I don't think that we can disregard that pedigree. If you're a casual boxing fan, you might think Tank is going to go in there and maybe knock him out on the second round. But I don't necessarily think that's going to happen. It was pretty interesting to see the face-off today during the press conference. And let me tell you, Tank is playing some mind games big time. It really reminded me of when Canelo did that to Caleb Plant, the whole slap thing. Like, that was weird. And Tank has just got so many cards up his sleeve, right? So I do think it's going to be a stoppage. I'm thinking closer to maybe the later rounds after the 8th round. I do think it's going to be longer than what it was against Rolly. But Hector Garcia is a good opponent. This is not his natural weight class. We know he's going up. He still has his belt at 130, so he can always go down there. I think everybody wants that Tank payday nowadays. So I'm glad that Hector is getting this opportunity. And hopefully a lot of the times is not how you lose, is not if you lose, but how you lose. So I think if he has a great performance, he'll be able to get other fights and he'll continue to get more popularity. And I hope that the Dominican Republic supports him, and I hope that they have good pay-per-view sales, since last year was such a great year for them. They had a lot of champions, So I hope that Hector has a good performance overall.
Absolutely. Easy Raw. How do you see this fight? Are people overlooking Luis Garcia? Are the bookies right? Is he a 14-1 underdog in your opinion, or is he a real threat in this fight?
I think he's a good opponent, honestly. I think he's a really good opponent. I think that just because Tank probably does knock him out, I think that says more about Tank than it does say about Hector Garcia. I think Tank's a high level elite fighter, and I think the people that are critical of this fight is because you rate Tank so high that when you fight just like just a challenger, a solid contender, it just seems so far of a gap. But that's really what it is. Hector Garcia is a talented boxer. He's smart, has a lot of ring IQ, places his shots. He just doesn't have anything elite about him. No elite speed, no elite power, and that's kind of the thing that's going to stop him from being one of the top elite fighters. But like I said, he's a fighter that gets better as the fight goes on. So is Tank, though. I think that Tank will eventually get him out of there. I think early on it's going to be a little more tactical than people are expecting. Hector Garcia isn't a come forward guy, all pressure guy. He's not really that type of style. Gets aggressive, but he's using his brains in there. He's using his movement. He's using pinpointing his shots. So I think the Tank will get him out of there. I think it will be with the right hook because Hector Garcia gets lazy with his guard on that side. But that's why I think it's a real good opponent. I have no problem with this fight. I'm actually very excited to see how this fight plays out because these contenders like this are not, the fight contenders like this over and over again. One of them could get you. I mean, these are high level fighters. So that's what I see it playing out.
Calix 12-1. I want to pull the trigger on this one, but I don't know, man. I don't know. Hector Garcia's got a little bit of craftiness to him. He can go in and out, but Tank's really good at sucking guys in, so he can catch him on the way in, and before he's back out there to reset. I think he maybe get caught with something on the way in, but this is a good test for Tank. But if you look at Tank's last couple fights, before he does get that knockout, he's losing rounds. He's lost a lot of rounds in these last couple. Even the Barrios fight, he was losing rounds. He lost a couple of rounds to Raleigh.
He's losing the fight against Barrios.
Yeah, can you imagine saying he was losing the fight against Raleigh? So the question is, what if he doesn't land that big shot though? That's the big question we have. I mean, Garcia's moving up in weight. Can he take the big shot? Colbert wasn't a big puncher. That's different. But once again, Garcia wasn't really getting hit a lot in that fight. He was the guy that was overwhelming Colbert, right? Will he be able to overwhelm Tank? Because Tank's kind of economical with his punches, right? He waits on you, let you come to him. It's an interesting fight. I want to pull the trigger on Garcia. I really do, but I'm going to have to take Tank by ninth round stoppage. But I think I'm going to put a little something on Hector Garcia at those odds. I'm going to put a little
There you go. Manny and Vito Barrero, talk to us.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's just Tank always gets his way, and he always happens to get people that are moving up or moving down or moving sideways, and he just gets the benefit of all that. And the bottom line is, this fight is going to be probably 5-1 against Tank Davis. I mean, winning Hector Garcia. That one round is most likely going to be the only one that Tank's going to have, and that's going to be the knockout. He just seems to find it. Leo Santa Cruz tasted it. Mario Barrios tasted it. Rolly Romero tasted it. Losing the fights. I mean, I had an argument the other day. Someone telling me, "Oh, he wasn't losing against Leo Santa Cruz." No, are you kidding me? But that's the way he is. He's a 2-second puncher in where you really have to be cautious at what you do. And one mistake, and that's it. Keep in mind, Hector Garcia, the only person he really have fought is Roger Gutierrez, which, I mean, he had 3 fights against René El Gemeno Alvarado from Nicaragua. It seems like those guys were at it again. They really hate each other. So when 3 times at it, and, Gutierrez got him twice. But in the last fight in Florida, when Hector beat him for the WBA title, Gutierrez wasn't an act, and it wasn't all that. So I can't really take opponents from Garcia and say, wow, I'm wow with Garcia. Garcia has a legitimate chance to just win rounds. That's it. Sadly to say, because I don't want to diminish anyone's professional career the way they work so hard. But the reality is I'm being very objective. Tank Davis, Garcia, knockout. That's it.
Oh, damn. Calix, talk to us. Are the bookies right?
I think so. They were dead wrong on 15-1 Chris Colbert, right? Hector Luis Garcia. And this is what I like about Hector Luis Garcia is consummate professional. He's going to go in there and work. And what I like about what happened today is Tank Davis feels that there's not much buzz behind this card. So I think he tried something at the weigh-in today, or not the weigh-in, the press conference, and he tried to force an altercation that was going to get some buzz. And what did Hector Luis Garcia do? He just stared at him. And I love that. He's a consummate professional. He's like, I'm not going to mess up my payday for you. I'm not getting messed up in your chaos, your energy. I'm just going to stay me. And I like that about Hector Luis Garcia. He's about his business. But look, they sold this originally to us, the boxing public, as a tune-up for Ryan, right? And now it's not a tune-up for Ryan. Now it's something else. And what I'm saying is, when we say I hate this card, and when I say I hate this card, from top to bottom, a pay-per-view that is 14-1 plus mismatches. Guys, like, I know not everybody follows betting odds, but when you have a co-main event that's 40-1 favorite, 40-1.
Yep.
It's like, what is this? And people have been following boxing for at least more than a generation. Look at a card, a pay-per-view card like this and say, what is this? Like, how did they move the goalpost this? How did they move it this far on us? And the main event is, wherever you look at it, you saying you're getting 12-1. I'm seeing 14-1 to 6. I hope that the Luis Garcia pulls off this upset, because I said that I want to see chaos in 2023. It's nothing against Tank, just collateral damage. I want to see the boxing power brokers and all their greed. I want to see their plans messed up, because they are not giving us what we want as boxing fans. We wanted Tank versus Ryan. Now instead they're going to give us Tank versus the other Garcia before Ryan. And it's nothing against Hector. Like I understand, like, people might, but there are from 5 to 140, which the
Croatia, Hector,
right?
I mean, geez.
But there are at least a dozen. But there are at least a dozen fighters that the boxing public would have rather seen Tank fight than Hector Luis Garcia, right?
And on top of that,
there's a reason he's there. You got to think of it.
That's what I'm trying to say, man. We need
But
these
think of it
matchups.
from the boxing promoter. Think of it from the boxing promoter. They're not going to put Tank in there with a threat 3 months before the Ryan fight. They're just not. I hope a fight breaks out by accident. And Hector Luis Garcia is going to win rounds, because they all win rounds against Tank, right? He gives up rounds until he doesn't, until he knocks you out. And I hope Hector Luis Garcia has a granite chin and he can pull this off. I hope it happens. But he's not in there to win. He's in there to lose, and he's in there to lose by knockout for the Ryan fight. That's what's supposed to happen. And this isn't in even odds. This isn't a competitive matchup on paper.
I just have
Steven
one
has
question
to
for
know
you.
making us pay for that. That's
Now,
the
one question,
problem.
though.
Making the fans pay.
Who is the guy, though, that they could have matched him up with? That you would have said that he had legit would have had a shot. A real fight, though, an actual fight that could possibly happen. So, like, you know, Handy's not going to happen. You know, Ryan, they were going to push that off.
William Zepeda. William
Isaac
Zepeda.
Cruz. Isaac Cruz.
Okay, so
Isaac Cruz. I mean,
he
again,
beat-
rematch, whatever.
Yeah,
people
he
want.
beat Regis one hand, though.
Regis Prograis. I mean,
Okay,
you could have done any
Regis.
but my issue is this.
Hold on,
Visa, like, my issue is this. We're always given the excuses as to why cross promotional fights can happen. They can. And I know that because when Errol and Bud fell through last year, I was told, well, if Bob could offer Bud his money, guaranteed money that wasn't willing to offer him, then the fight could happen. That's exactly my point. Cross promotional fights can happen all the time. They can happen. It's that whoever is doing these fights don't want them to happen. And realistically speaking, as a boxing fan, all these fights can happen. They can happen. They can all happen. I don't want to hear it. Like, they can all happen. And I'm not saying Tank doesn't want these fights. I'm just saying Tank is being stopped from having these fights. And these aren't the fights we want to see.
So I want to ask that Easy Raw. Are you saying like the Garcia fight is better than people are giving it credit for, pretty much?
Yeah, I think there could have been a lot worse opponent, honestly. I think it's a contender. It's a guy that beat, okay, let's see what he did here, right? We're talking about, the guy wants his chance, right? He beat a top prospect. He beat a champ, Ryan Gutierrez. So at that point, you graduate to that point, right? You should be able to fight a top guy. Now, if you said Isaac Cruz, he beat Isaac Cruz with one hand. So now with two hands, we're supposed to think like, oh, he's still a credible threat. You know what I mean? Like that's I just don't. No matter what way he would have picked it, we would have said this guy's in there to lose, right? Because he's a good fighter. Tank's the A side. He's the better. He's gonna, of course, he's gonna have the better odds. But I just don't think that that's right to say, oh, well, this guy's in there to lose. They know he's gonna lose. I don't know. I don't agree with that. I don't think if the options you're saying Progress, that wasn't gonna happen. We know that, and not just because of cross promotion. He just fought. Anyone on Top Rank, that was going to happen, and that's both sides talk about it because Haney's not going to take a pay cut, right? And Tank's not going to take a pay cut on it. So the negotiates alone would have you have to create basically Ryan, and you have to negotiate Ryan and a Haney fight. You have to negotiate both of those fights back to back. It's just not going to happen. So the realistic fights, I think, was a good option.
All right, Beep. I know you had a point, and then we're gonna.
Did someone else? Did I interrupt anyone? Did anyone else want to say something?
No, you're good.
Okay, all right. I just want to cut anyone off.
I don't know, but I'm saying you go. So go ahead.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Does anyone know when Tank's going back to court?
That I don't know. I don't know, but that's that hit and run charge is a serious charge.
Because I just want to read this quick quote. 2 seconds. This is what the victim of the accident said. I begged Mr. Davis. I looked him in the eyes. And I said, I have to go home to my daughter. I'm pregnant. He never once came back over to help me. He got us things and left. She had bladder surgery and she had a serious knee injury in the smash. And I was reading, the sentences and the punishment for these types of crimes, especially when someone gets injured like this. She had to undergo bladder surgery and she suffered a serious knee injury. I mean, in Maryland, you can get up to 5 years max, 6 months minimum for this. So I'm just trying to figure out how he's going to avoid jail time in this. I'm just being honest here. That's just what he did was very serious.
I don't know anything about and I don't know anything about what happened last week. I just like inside the boxing ring. There's a clear track record here, and I think like. People have to notice it at this point. It's the timing is never right. Other promotional agencies and other fighters have been willing to go and do cross promotion to fight Tank, but the fights never happen. So at what point do they have? And the Tank versus Ryan fight could be happening now, but I don't know, man. Like I wish the best for Hector Luis Garcia on Saturday night. I'm gonna just leave it at that.
I do too, and I've always not rooted for anyone against fighting Tank at all. But when the fights are happening and Tank's losing the first 5-6 rounds, I'm like, come on, this is the time to do it. Because the reality is, at the end of the day, we're gonna be sucked into this crap of watching some of these fights, but on top of that, paying for some of these fights. Because you know what? I'm in the industry. I like to see boxing. And I'm going to get sucked into that. And that's the shit about it. But on the meantime, we have other networks who are giving us fights that we want to see. And we'll talk about that. And they're going to be free with no drama, with no fiasco, with no nothing. And in the meantime, we're just going to have to watch someone that is a great power puncher. That's it. I don't see Tank with an IQ level and his footworks,
I think he does.
Tank is more than just the power.
Yeah, I think Tank's a slick. I think he's a slick counter puncher. That's
the frustrating part. So that's the frustrating part for like people from me and D-Style.
Real quick, last point, Calix, and we're gonna go to the last topic. Go ahead.
Yeah, but me and D-Style have been talking about this for a couple of years now. That's the frustrating part for us is we see the layers in the superb talent of Tank. We see it. Yeah. And also we don't care. We've said like we don't care if he loses. That's the thing. Like he shouldn't be marketed as the O, right? The marketability should be the entertainment value because when you sell in LA, you're selling in Vegas, you're selling in Atlanta, you're selling in DC, you're selling in New York. And it's not only, yes, he's losing early rounds to inferior opposition. It's because of this tightrope style he fights. 34 punches per round, and they're all power punches. So he's giving up rounds to inferior opposition early in order to him up. He's timing the patterns in order to set them up for the knockouts later. It's a tightrope style, but that's the issue. It's the red flag that we think we see is the reason they're not stepping up the opposition is once you get to that elite level, top 3 or 4 guys at lightweight, top 3 or 4 guys in that killer division at 140. There's a reason they fought Matteo Barrios and now Regis Prograis. There's a reason that when they were asked about Josh Taylor after the fight, Leonard Ellerbe started stuttering. There's a reason. It's when you step up to that top level and you're fighting guys with granite who have high technical ability and IQ. It's a different story than a Matteo Barrios. It's a different story than an Isaac Cruz, a Raleigh Romero who wasn't even top 20 in the division. It's a different story.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, look, I will say this: Luis Garcia has earned a shot. Good amateur.
Making a payday.
He made everybody eat their words after the Kohlberg fight.
Yep.
And he's looking forward to doing the same again this weekend. And I hope he does. I just don't think he will. Like, it is what it is, right? I'll eat my words if he wins. Like, I'll eat the crow like with a smile if he wins. But go ahead, Pete.
Do you know that? I know Calix said 15-1. He opened up at a 25-1 originally versus Kohlberg. He was as high as 25.
Jesus Christ.
It was sick.
Damn.
And, you know, and just to kind of piggyback off what Manny said, we're going to get Haney versus Lomachenko this year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the bar's been set. The bar's been set.
Yeah.
So it could be framed any way they want. Oh, well, these guys who are these guys? They're not making this. These guys are making these. All these guys are millionaires. They're all millionaires.
That's for sure.
All right. No one's
top rank and Showtime have come together for one of the biggest fights that we had, which was Tyson Fury versus Joshua. So that can happen.
Wilder.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, you're right. You can finish your point.
Yeah.
That's all I had.
But that just
really quick, because we got to go to the last topic. But
that just proves one point: that if the fighters want it, it can get done. You have to ask yourself: does Tank really want it? Let's be honest.
Look, we will see. We'll see what happens. Obviously, let's go ahead and go to the last topic. We'll go around really quick. First of all, I appreciate everybody who came on. MC, Easy, I appreciate you guys. Many of you, thank you for coming on. Manny, we'll start with you. Eddie has revealed a 3-fight plan. He wants a tune-up for AJ. Then he wants a Dillian White fight. And then if he wins those two, he wants either Wilder or AJ, right? If that fight happens, specifically, because the one I want and the one I think would sell is AJ versus Wilder, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who would you favor this year in that fight?
Well, Eddie Hearn's trying to squeeze as much as possible Anthony Joshua, whatever he's got left. But I'm going to tell you something. If that fight happens, like let's say May or someone like that, neither of them fights before they fight each other, right? They don't have any other fights. They don't fight each other. Let's say May. I have to go with Wilder. He's got the better momentum. He took devastating losses against Fury, but he recovered back again. Whatever happened to Helenius, or I have no idea. But the reality is that he's in a much better state of mind. Joshua is not. Joshua, you can see him, how he speaks. He's not the same comfortable guy that he used to be. He got hit hard by Andy Ruiz, and he has not been the same. One thing important, at the WBO convention when I was there last summer, Fernando Vargas said something interesting. I was never the same after I fought Tito Trinidad. Wasn't that the truth? Anthony Joshua.
You're just saying that because you're Puerto Rican.
After he fought.
You stop raining on everyone's parade today, kid, please.
It's those 408 beers. But the bottom line is Anthony Joshua is not the same after he fought the first time Andy Ruiz. Sorry to say that, but he hasn't been the same, and he hasn't proven that. So until then, to answer your question, 2-second puncher. Wilder.
I like that term, 2-second puncher. I like that.
Oh, man. Hey, Manny, really quick, do you think it's a bigger fight than Usyk Fury? Like monetarily?
No. I don't think so. You got Undisputed on the heavyweights, bro.
No?
This is what I would love Bruce Cass to be here to say, man.
All right.
Yeah, this is part of that one. It's the Undisputed Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah, we need Bruce Cass and his like bong back too. Yeah, for real. Hey, Calix Boxing, talk to us. He has a plan. And I think the one that makes sense to me is Fury. I'm sorry, not AJ versus Wilder. Who would you favor that fight this year? And is it bigger than Usyk Fury in your opinion?
I hope this comes off because it's 3 fights for Joshua, so he's active, and then the culmination at the end. And if you put a gun to my head, I gotta say Wilder because of the power. But question marks with Wilder too. Can he handle AJ's power? So it's tough, but yes, it's bigger. It is bigger, and that's with all due respect to Fury versus Usyk for Undisputed. I love that fight, and it's a fight that needs to happen. We need an undisputed champion, but it is bigger. It is bigger. Like Wilder versus Joshua needs to happen. It's the fight we've been asking for a while. It's to happen, and put it across the pond because I think that's where it's the biggest. And Wilder, when he goes over there, I think we'll understand how great those fans are over there. So it's that fight's got to happen.
Okay. MC, same question for you.
I actually think that Joshua needs to come back to America and try to revenge that loss that he had here in America. So I would like him to come here instead. I do have Wilder winning that fight. I think Manny hit it on the nail. You know, my dad was a big boxing fan. And if there's one thing that I will remember him saying was, once you get knocked out, you will never be the same. So I think that had it not only maybe physically, but also mentally. So I think that Joshua will never be the same. We're never gonna. I mean, obviously, we know that fighters, every time they go into the ring, they leave a piece of them there in the ring, right? So but that did affect him, I think, a lot. But I think that fight is obviously bigger, like all of you guys said. Unfortunately, Usyk versus Fury, they kind of let the steam off whenever they didn't make it happen, when it should have happened, when Usyk came up to the heavyweight, had all the momentum going. They should have done it then. Instead, he wouldn't have the rematch with Joshua, which that's not the fight that we wanted to see, right? So I'm excited to see Wilder back. I want him to be a world champ again. And I think that the fight against Andy Ruiz will also be interesting. That's supposed to be happening sometime in May, right? So I hope we get that.
All right. Okay. Easy. Talk to us, brother. Same question for you.
So I actually think that Joshua Fury I think it has a good chance of happening at the end of this year, especially if Usyk happens right away in the first quarter. Then that fight is a lot of money. That fight is huge. It's one of the biggest fights you can have in England. I think that's a massive fight. But if they fought Joshua, and I think with Wilder kind of figured out and got back to being slim Wilder instead of the last Fury he fought, he was too much muscle. It could kind of tired him out. He was slim. He moved backwards. It might not look pretty, but it's effective. You know, he does things to make you come towards his power. Now, I think he would knock out Joshua. I really do. But that's why I think he knocks out Joshua. I think Joshua, I'm not saying that he's washed or anything like that, because I did like some of the things he did in the Usyk fight. He's just kind of too big, and Usyk is just too elusive. Kind of a horrible matchup for him. But I think that he's going to look effective versus Dillian Whyte. I think he'll look effective versus the other guy they're going to put him in. But when he fights the elite top guys, as Fury, Usyk, and Wilder, he'll probably come up short.
Hey, do you think, Easy, that it's a bigger fight monetarily wise? I don't mean like what it means, but like monetarily than Fury Usyk.
Yeah, Joshua Wilder's the biggest fight. Yeah, bigger fight than that.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah, that's a massive fight.
Damn. Okay.
Well, if
Joe.
I can add to that,
Yeah, go ahead.
Usyk versus Fury, they don't need our money. They got their money over there in Saudi Arabia going on.
That's
They
correct,
bought a
MC.
World Cup.
That's correct, MC.
They just bought Cristiano Ronaldo. They don't need our money, so
Now you're talking.
it don't even matter, to be honest.
But Cristiano Ronaldo's going to be.
Told you we needed to bring her on the panel.
He's going to break
tonight.
Pele's record in a cheap way. I don't like
Ronaldo, the real GOAT. The real GOAT.
I told you we had to bring her on tonight.
Really?
Well, you're talking about Brazilian Ronaldo or which Ronaldo? But Hey, Beep, talk to us, brother.
I gotta say
I want your honest take. Not your Fury is the greatest of all time take, or like you know what I mean.
Well,
I just want your honest take about this fight. Who's your favorite, by the way, in this fight? And is it bigger than Usyk Fury?
Well, first of all, we need an intervention for you. But past that, here's the thing, man. If Lady Chan was on this panel tonight, she'd be having a conniption right now. Everyone's saying that Joshua would get knocked out. She loves Joshua.
Shout out to Lady Chan.
Shout out to Lady Chan. Good thing she's not on this panel tonight. I do think Wilder,
female panelist of the year. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do think Wilder would stop Joshua. But again, there would be a big argument. A lot of people picking Joshua as well. It's a 50-50 fight, but I would pick Wilder in that fight. Tyson Fury, I love him. He's my favorite fighter right now. I think he's the best heavyweight of all time. I have 2 Tyson Fury shirts in my closet right now, but
Really?
that Wilder Joshua fight is gigantic. I think that's a bigger fight than Fury versus Usyk, and I'll tell you why. Because like MC said, they're going to get that big the big site fee or whatever it is going to be over the Saudi money, and that's where they're going to make. They absolutely do not need our money, and they probably won't get that much of our money either. But the thing is remember when Wilder and Fury fought? They did like 850,000 pay-per-view buys the second fight, and they did it like 650 the third. So Wilder is a pretty decent name here when he fights the right guy. And I think if he was to fight Joshua over here, I would not be surprised if they at the very low end they do at least 500,000 pay-per-view buys, and that's $80 a pop. And then you factor in the UK. The UK pay-per-views I think could do 2 million for this fight. So that fight would be gigantic. It would be gigantic. And to be fair, I think it would probably be more exciting than Usyk versus Fury, because I think Fury can make that fight very ugly. He could muck it up. He could turn that thing into WWE when he fights Usyk if he wanted to, right? Whereas the Joshua and Wilder fight, both these guys are defensively flawed. They both can punch, and that's the recipe for an action-packed fight. You could see a couple knockdowns. Wilder's been knocked down before. He's gotten up, right? Joshua's been knocked down before. He's gotten up. That could be a knockdown drag out brawl. And I think that'd be a phenomenal fight. So yeah, I think that fight would be a much bigger fight.
Is it a bigger fight?
So
it's a bigger fight. Yeah, it's a bigger fight.
Damn.
There's no way that fight can't be entertaining, like with those styles.
Yeah,
And by the way, like
So
for people saying Joshua will never be the same, we don't know. Like we haven't seen
Wilder may
hit
not be the
really.
same.
Well,
Right.
he showed something in 30-something seconds, but
Right.
I
mean,
do think that Joshua had an improvement from his previous performance against Usyk. The first one, he did better the second time around.
Robert
So
Garcia, he did.
He's improving, but how much can you improve from here to get to the level where Wilder is? That's kind of where once you start going up to the highest level of opposition, yeah, you might be getting better, but are you getting better at the rate that your opposition is getting better, or at the level that they already established that?
I think what makes it
when
interesting is Wilder is a much better matchup for AJ than Usyk until Wilder hits him flush, and then it's all bets off. So, and then we don't know what Wilder's chin is after those 2 knockouts. So, and to Beeb's point, put it in Wembley, 100,000, or you can put it in Vegas and it'll do huge live gates, and it would sell at least 500,000 paper. That fight needs to happen. Like
I just want to say this.
The thing about it is not how Joshua has improved or worked on some of the areas that he lacked on. It's not that. We've seen that. Joshua is here. When you get hit with a hammer or with an object or with a punch, and it really took you away from the game for a little bit. I don't want to say concussion or anything like that because it never came out. But you got hurt badly. Anytime you're going to go back again, you're going to be thinking about that. And you're going to be very cautious. And you're going to limit the skills and everything that you're working in the gym. It's going to be a little bit limited. The opposition is going to take advantage of that. Joshua is all mentally. I can't wait to see him overcome that. But every time, even with that little fake smile that he kind of does every
the nervous smile, man. The nervous
I just think Joshua needs.
It's a nervous smile when you get caught
Right?
with your hand in the cookie jar and you look over and you go,
Well, let me just say this real quick. Joshua needs what Vladimir Klitschko got, which was an Emmanuel Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he needs. Like Emmanuel Stewart tricked Vladimir. Like when he told Vladimir, oh, that's why you're having problems with your stamina. You're wearing that cup. That's the problem. Just stop wearing that cup. Wear a different cup, and the problem's fixed. That wasn't true, but that's what he told him.
that was a good story.
And Vladimir believed it, but and then he implemented him in the style that people believe was boring or whatever, but it was effective. That's what AJ needs. Look, you've given people the great fights. You've given people exciting fights. Now it's time to implement winning game plans. That's what AJ needs right now.
Yep.
right? And I don't know. I think it's too late, to be honest with you.
I think it is.
He's insulted every trainer in America by visiting their gym.
Big major fights. So he's got time. He's got time. Because he's got 3 big fights that are coming in. I mean, Eddie Hearns is not gonna, it's not gonna come to me and say I'm going 3 more fights, and these are gonna be with John D's son's cat taxi driver. No, it's gonna be with people. I mean, it's gonna be with what we're talking about right now to make the money worth.
So with that said, look, man, it's been a great show. I want to thank MC for coming on. I want to thank Easy Raw Boxing for giving us their time. Right, Joe, as always, Calix, Emani, and Vivo.
Thank you.
Till the next time, that's the show.
Vivo!
Shout out to everybody. We're out.
Vivo! Happy New Year's.